Welcome to Ohio Stadium and the first home football game of the season for the 2023 Ohio State Buckeyes. I'm Tom Orr of BuckeyeHuddle.com, joined by Tony Gerdeman. Tony, it is that time again. It is availability report time. Some interesting news today. One name that we had not seen on the availability report last week that is a game time decision, and then a couple names that were on the availability report last week that are now not. So let's, I guess, start with the bad news. That is Josh Proctor, who started the game at adjuster last week, played a pretty solid game, and who was great in run support, is not. He is a game time decision. He's questionable for the game. You know, I mean, this is the implied caveat on all of this is it's Youngstown State and Ohio State's favored by 40 whatever points, so it probably doesn't really matter. But when you have a guy who's been as strong in run support as Josh Proctor has been in the past, a team like Youngstown State that has a pretty run-heavy offense, this is a game you would probably like to have Josh Proctor for if you could. Yeah,
and to continue to establish himself as a starter on this team. So if he doesn't play, will you be shocked? If you're listed as questionable for this game, at that point you're almost like, why play? Unless you just wake up and you feel perfect, and that may happen. But the fact that he is the only guy that is listed as questionable, I think is good news for Ohio State in terms of the overall health. But at this point, even if he plays, how much do you expect him to play? Not much. And do you get more out of this game if he doesn't play and just rests and make sure that he's ready for week 3, week 4 than if you play him a little bit and there's a setback?
Right. And you know, I go back to my youth sports coaching days, which is like 2017 to the present. There is the thing with concussion. This is, we don't know what the issue is with Josh Proctor, but there's a saying with concussions: when in doubt, sit them out. This feels like a when in doubt, sit them out game with any kind of injury, because the road gets harder next week with Western Kentucky. It gets substantially harder in 2 weeks with Notre Dame. And if you do sit Josh Proctor out, that feels like that's just more opportunities for Malik Hartford to play. And as a true freshman who is already kind of making an impression and getting on the field against Indiana, a whole game of reps for Malik Hartford, that doesn't seem like bad news.
No, actually it does seem like bad news, because I believe one of your bold predictions was that Malik Hartford would have an interception. Was that correct?
Well, yeah, but I mean, he doesn't need a whole game for that. That could be like 3 snaps.
It could be like 3 snaps, but yeah, when I saw the name Josh Proctor, immediately you go to, Malik Hartford played like 5 fewer snaps than he did last week. Hartford took over the second half. Looked like he belonged out there, so I'm interested to see more of him. I think everybody is high on him, so this will be an opportunity for him to show that without there being too much pressure. If he does start for his first start, this would be a nice way to get his feet even more wet than they were last week. So if you're going to lose Josh Proctor for a game, this isn't a bad step up for Hartford, and it's a good opportunity for everybody, the coaches, to see exactly what Malik Hartford can do in this kind of role.
Well, and I think we talked at some point sort of late summer about, okay, which true freshman gets the first start. Again, we're making some assumptions here. Proctor's just listed as questionable, but boy, if you get to, and we're assuming it's Malik Hartford and not Jihad Carter. I mean, we're making a couple sort of assumptions here. I think they're logical assumptions, but they're assumptions. Boy, Malik Hartford to make his first career start in the second game of the season, that seems crazy early, but then you go back and Denzel Burke started game 1 in 2021, and Kyle McCord started game 3 or 4 against Akron in that year. So you've seen it in the past, and it generally has been a pretty good indicator of, even if it isn't incredible perfect day 1, and you really should not expect it to be, that's just more of a barometer of, okay, that tells me a lot more about what your career might look like a year or 2 from now than anything else.
Yeah, for sure. And to be Jair Brown did it in like week 5 last year.
Yeah.
And that was more of a depth chart thing, And obviously to start as a freshman, you're pretty good, but they were out without some guys last year. I am interested to see what this does, as you said, in relation to Jihad Carter, who Jim Knowles didn't say he was injured, but the fact that Lathan Ransom played every snap at strong safety when Jihad Carter warmed up as the number 2 strong safety in that game, and never saw the field. So I'm wondering what's the situation with him. Will he play more in this one? Could he be, as you said, involved in that free safety thing? Or who, if there is no Josh Proctor, who is behind Malik Hartford?
Mm-hmm.
You know, is it Kai Stokes? Is it, you know, who is it? Is it nobody? It's going to have to be somebody.
Yeah.
I don't think the starter, whoever it is, if Malik Hartford starts and Josh Proctor sits, I don't expect Malik Hartford to go 4 quarters in this game.
No, I certainly wouldn't expect that. And Jahad Carter was not on the availability report last week, and he's not on the availability report this week. We'll run down the other. There are 5 names that are listed as out this week. All 5 were on last week's report as well. So wide receiver Keon Grays, tight end Zach Herbstreit, defensive lineman Will Smith Jr., walk-on wide receiver Reese Stocksdale, and safety Court Williams. So those are 5 guys that were out last week, out this week. So we know they're going to miss this week's game. You know, and that's, you know, we talked last week about Court Williams and how he's just been perpetually banged up and just can't seem to buy a break. So that's kind of a bummer. And you know, this is a game where someone like Keon Grays, who is, you know, maybe trying to get more reps and a walk on like Reese Stocksdale, like this is an opportunity to get on the field, maybe get a reception or 2 in a game like this, and you miss that opportunity. That's kind of a bummer. What's interesting though, Tony, is some of the names that were on the list last week that aren't, and you know, one of them is Jaden Bonsu, who is a true freshman safety. You know, he has missed time. He missed a bunch of time in fall camp, so I'm not necessarily expecting him to be one of those guys who fills in that, you know, that safety role if someone, you know, if they are missing Proctor and you need someone else there. But you know, he would be an interesting person to get to see out on the field for the first time. Yeah,
especially if you're down a safety. We have not seen much of him in camp. I'm interested to see I assume he's more of a bandit than an adjuster, just because of if you watch his high school highlights.
Yeah, he's a hitter.
He's a hitter, and he's a bigger guy. I think he's actually lost a little bit of weight at Ohio State to try and maintain the speed that is necessary. So I'll be interested. Maybe we see him out on special teams initially. That wouldn't surprise me if he's running down. So yeah, it's good to see. Hopefully, you see him back out there, and because you know, as we know in this defense, they need as many safeties as they can get. And the sooner they play, the better it will be down the road for the defense, for everybody.
One other name that was on the report last week, running back T.C. Caffey. He is not on the report this week. You may remember he made something of a name for himself last year against Toledo in that game that was 13 trillion to 13 or something like that. But he had a couple long runs, and everyone kind of went, oh, look at that, you know, maybe, is this a thing? And then he immediately got hurt and missed the rest of the season. So he will be back today. It could have an opportunity for him to play as well. So that'll be interesting. One other name that's not on there, was not on the report last week, was not in the report this week, but which we have been told by Ohio State on the record, is a long-term injury situation, is second-year defensive end Amari Abor, where's number 23. He was not on the report last week, not on the report this week. He's still listed in the student directory. He's still listed on the official roster on the website. So, that's just one of those weird, like, someone's not saying something kind of situations. I'm going to be interested to see, is he down on the field during warm-ups, or is he MIA during the course of the game?
Yeah, not on the travel roster last week, and that's not super unusual. There's plenty of guys that can only travel like 74, and you've got 85 scholarship players, so some of those guys are going to be sitting at home. So I'll be interested to see if he's out there, because it sure sounded like Ryan Day, like it wasn't he's out for the year, but it was like he could be out for the year. And so if you're back like week 1, week 2, like it's surprising if nothing else.
Yeah, it's either a miracle or it's something weird, and we will find out today, I guess, if it is a miracle or something weird. Let's talk about the game itself. This is one where, the story of the game is obviously going to be the quarterbacks. Kyle McCord is going to start. Devin Brown is going to play, I assume extensively. I don't know if extensively means half of the first half or 6 drives over the course of the game or whatever it is. But this feels like, Kyle McCord had, won the job out of fall camp, but they're kind of continuing looking at things during the course of the season. This feels like if Devin Brown is going to make a move to win the starting quarterback job, this is the day he probably has to do it, because next week you're getting into, I don't know if it's, I don't know if it's like officially done and over after today. I get the sense it's probably not officially done and over, but if you don't win the job today, if you don't, make a very strong case for the job today, next week you got Western Kentucky. At some point you have to kind of make a decision and give one of these guys all the first team reps during practice. So Next week you get Western Kentucky. 2 weeks you get Notre Dame. It feels like you kind of this is a very, very big day for Devin Brown, and how big of a role he plays this year.
Yeah, and I don't think Devin Brown can actually even win the job today without the help of Kyle McCord losing the job. So it's going to take both of those guys to perform at a certain level, one very high, one very low. Imagine the scenario where those two guys have games where Ryan Day comes out afterwards or later in the week and says, "Yeah, we're going to go with Devin Brown." Like it almost has something to do with Devin Brown, but it almost has more to do with how Kyle McCord plays in this one. And that would be shocking if anybody played so poorly that you're going to lose your job after this game. So I do think you need to let both of them throw it, and especially let's see what Devin Brown can do, downfield stuff. I'll be interested to see how quickly they go to Marvin and Emeka to get those guys in and involved, because I don't think we expect either of those guys to play in the second half. So you want to get them some touches, just get them going. But mostly you just throw as much as you can for as long as you can, because I don't think quarterbacks are really going to learn anything by handing the ball off.
No, and I think you kind of know what you have in terms of the run. I mean, in terms of the running backs, I think they know what they have, or they at least have a better grasp on what they have, because all those guys have had more game reps than McCord and Brown have. So this feels like this is going to be in a lot of ways, this is going to be a little bit of a fall-spring game where you're probably working on some stuff. You're trying not to put too much different stuff on film. You want to see guys in different situations. You want to see, how guys work. You want to see the younger guys. You want to let other guys get reps. You want to. They talk all the time about how important it is, the game reps, because you can simulate stuff in practice. You can do scrimmages, whatever. Nothing is a game until it's a game. Well, this is a game, and it should be a game where they can get out front, feel comfortable, work on some stuff. That's like one of those Nick Saban things. When Nick Saban's playing Mercer or the Citadel or whoever, they'll work on all the stuff they're not good at. Because if you just work on the stuff you're good at, that's great and it's fun, but you don't actually learn anything. You don't actually get better. You got to work on the stuff you need to improve. So I feel like you might, you're going to see some run. You're going to have to work on, hey, running the stretch play, getting the guys out there, having, when you have pulling guards, the stuff I talked to Ross Fulton about this week, making sure that the younger guys on the offensive line understand the blocking assignments on these different plays. You got to kind of do some of the, eat your vegetables stuff like that, but they're going to want to work on the intermediate and downfield passing game today, I think, a lot.
Yeah, just see how it all works, get some confidence going. Talking about working on everything, working on the run game, and the things that you're not great at. It's like if you only play on a video like Madden on the rookie level, and then you go into a tournament, and it's like you are not prepared if you're not really working on the things you're not good at. And so you'll still need to do that. And I think everybody wants to see the run game become more effective, and the only way you can do that is to work on it in the game as well. I think anything you can do to build the confidence of the offensive line is a good thing, and because the more confident the offensive line is, the more confident the quarterback is, the more confident Ryan Day is calling plays. So yes, Tom, in football it all starts up front.
Big if true.
And so I think you obviously want to have a confident offensive line, an effective offensive line, but if we're still talking about this is still a quarterback thing. So I think you can know what you can fix what was wrong with the running game early on and know, okay, it looks like we're good there. Now let's start slinging it around.
All right, so give me your pick to click on offense today.
Offense today, I think, if I wouldn't be shocked if Marvin scores twice, just to...
In the first half?
Yes, yeah, no, yeah.
Oh, that's bold of you.
Yeah. Is that one of yours? Well, it's not bold. It's just I think that's going to happen. So standard, pretty basic. Yeah, actually.
My pick is going to be Kyle McCord. I think this is the day. We saw him last week, and everyone walked away from that ready to jump off the roof. You went back and watched it, and the second half was better than the first. It looked like a guy who kind of had the first half like road game, Big Ten opponent, decent defense, jitters, and came out in the second half, felt a little bit more comfortable. I think you're going to see that progression kind of continue. I don't think this is going to be perfect. I don't think this is going to be the first half of the 2021 Michigan State game. It doesn't have to be. If he leads them down the field and they've got, they score on 3 of 4 drives or something like that in the first half under McCord, and he's being efficient and they're moving the chains and all that kind of stuff, and you're not making the big mistake, I think that's what he needs to do to really kind of put himself in a good position to win the job. I think you're going to see a decent day out of Devin Brown too. It feels like McCord, having come out of fall camp with the lead here and having gotten that 1 week under his belt, it just feels like he's a little bit better set up for success maybe than Devin Brown could be.
I'm wondering what Kyle McCord could do to win over the Devin Brown segment of the fan base, that small part of the fan base that wants it to be Devin Brown. I'm wondering if there's anything that Kyle McCord could do to win them over. But if there's an opponent to find that out about, it would be this one. So, and honestly, that's probably what would disqualify him from winning anybody over on that side. It's like, well, it's just Youngstown State. However, if Devin Brown goes 18 for 20, then that is obviously proof that it should be Devin Brown.
Yeah, it does. It feels like this is going to be a game where the only news a lot of people are going to draw from it is bad. Like, anything good is, well, of course you should do that. It's Youngstown State. Defense, please don't steal my pick.
No, I'll let you have Malik Hartford. Defensively, I think we're going to get to see some. Now, this is going to be second half, but I won't be surprised if we see some good stuff out of C.J. Hicks, some plays there. But I'll go with, let's see what Sonny Styles does. He's going to play a bunch of different spots. Yeah, you don't want to show too much, but you've already shown a lot with him. So I wouldn't be shocked if he's in somewhere making causing a turnover or being part of a turnover in there.
And I'm interested, and I don't think this is the week we're really going to find out about this. I think that's next weekend. But I'm interested to see him trying to track a slot receiver, cover a slot receiver in space. Because if he can do that, boy, that'll be real big in terms of how many different ways they can use him this year. I think we're going to find that out more next week against Western Kentucky than this week. But yeah, he's definitely a good pick. My pick, perhaps surprising to you, Tony, will be Malik Hartford. With Josh Proctor questionable for the game, it feels like it's setting up for Malik Hartford to have a start. He is rangy. They talk about how he gets his hands on footballs. It feels like this is setting up for Malik Hartford to have the game where, you're after the game, not necessarily your mother, but like broadly speaking, like your mom is like, oh, who is that number 25 who seems like a nice boy, why is he not playing quarterback? He seems like he's good at football. This seems like one of the games that's sort of setting up. And again, let me say this out loud one more time. He is a true freshman.
Yeah.
At some point, probably not this week, maybe this week, probably not this week, but maybe next week, there's going to be a big play that happens, and you're going to see the back of Malik Hartford's jersey chasing someone, and he is a true freshman. One more time, he is a true freshman. That is what is going to happen at some point with a true freshman. The coaching staff knows that. They are not new to this either. You have to be a little bit patient. You can't, actually, this guy is terrible at football. Like, you can't do that after one mistake. That's what happens to true freshmen. I think the fact that you could have a true freshman in there is a statement about, number one, the fact how special this true freshman could be. Number two, the fact that they don't have another guy who is the strong veteran presence. They don't have a Jordan Fuller this year. So you're kind of getting thrust into that spot, and he's earned that spot. But just patience. It's okay. True freshmen are going to make mistakes. That's what they do. But yeah, it does feel like this is a real opportunity for him to kind of start making a name for himself a little bit.
Yeah, I think on one play you could see him go 60 yards with a pick six, and on the very next play from scrimmage you could see him going 60 yards the other way chasing somebody for a touchdown. But give him some time. Give him some time, but they're already hurrying him along. Like they're not going to be patient. Everybody play now. Like, everybody, if you're good enough to play, get out there. Don't be patient. Fight for a spot. Create a spot, and that's something that he has done since he arrived in the spring.
Yeah. So we'll. This is the day that some of the hype around some of the younger guys you might get a chance to see some of it pay off a little bit. You're not. No one's going to win the Heisman today, but that's okay. This is sort of your opportunity to see. do we see Lincoln Keenholz towards the end of the game? Do we see more of the younger receivers? Do we, is this Jaden Ballard had a long touchdown in against Toledo last year? Do you see a big Jaden Ballard play today? Do you see Jelani Thurman make a play? Do you see, and the answer to all of that is maybe it will depend on how the game plays out and how long they want to keep the starters in. It feels like they might keep the starters in a little longer than you typically would to try and get both of those quarterbacks a bunch of reps of the ones, but that'll all be fun stuff to watch. We'll be tracking all of that for you at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Have our game thread already up and humming on our Huddle board at BuckeyeHuddle.com. We'll have photos and insight analysis, people arguing about stuff, all the good stuff you've come to know and love from Ohio State game threads. It'll be there. We will be back after the game with our post-game coverage here at youtube.com/BuckeyeHuddle. Do make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel and you've hit that bell. You might want to double check, click it again, make sure you've got notified, because we will be doing our post-game coverage immediately at the end of the game. Mark and Devin will be doing the instant analysis. Then we'll have live interviews with Ohio State players and coaches. Then Tony and I will be back afterwards for the Buckeye Weekly Instant Reaction Show. Should have a lot of stuff to talk about. Maybe maybe at least some progress towards a final verdict in the quarterback battle. A story we've been tracking since about the time that it became obvious that C.J. Stroud was going to leave. About 18 months ago or so. But yeah, we will hopefully have some interesting new stuff to talk about after the game. So. Thank you guys all for joining us, and we will see you on the post-game show.